Hello, world. This is Overtime with Terrence and Leon, a WRBI original production presented by Bruns Gutzwiller. Choose Bruns Gutzwiller for your next construction project. Also being brought to you by FCN Bank. FCN Bank, building stronger communities. Member FDIC. Leon, we continue down this path honoring girls basketball in the state of Indiana, celebrating 50 years of girls basketball in Indiana. And you could not talk about girls basketball in southeastern Indiana without bringing this young man to the program. And, when we spoke to him last, the phrase that just kept ringing in my head the whole time, and it continues today, was no more excuses.
Yes, I quite vividly remember that. So we're gonna see what old Coach Simpson wants to talk about tonight to get him all riled up.
Yeah, let's not get me fired up. I just got out of practice, so my blood pressure's down.
All right. Well, listen, we're glad to have you back on the program for the second time. Hey, you joined an exclusive club as a two-timer. The second time we've had you on the program, folks. This is none other the head coach of the Greensburg Lady Pirates, Coach Jason Simpson. Coach, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Looking forward to it.
So you guys have been in full practice now for about 2.5 weeks. In that short period of time, tell me what you've seen from your squad that lets you know that the message of no more excuses is getting through.
Maturity, hunger would be probably the two words that really stand out so far with this group. Like, I schedule a practice, and on our practice plan, especially the first couple of weeks, it'll be listed to 5:15, 5:30, and I'll look down and it's 4:45, and I'm like, we're done. Because I might put 10 minutes on the clock, and
right,
like, we're not going to beat a dead horse. We get through what we need to get through, and they come in and they are so focused from the word go. I always tell them we start at 3:15. The first 15 minutes is stretching and ball handling. And I'm like, get it out then. If you want to visit and talk and all those things, get your work done. But, let's have fun then. But then when it hits 3:30 and that horn goes off to move to the next thing, and man, have they done that in spades. They are ready to go. They know what we've got to do to get down to work, and that they've really embraced it so far.
Coach, I was asking, of course I got some insiders in the program, so I get the scoop.
We won't tell all your secrets.
I was asking about some of the girls on the team. And what was said was, well, it's not so much how those other girls are doing, it's how much better Leah West is. What would you say about Leah West now versus last year?
Again, it's a maturity. And I have a good friend of mine. Kyra Whitaker was my first, all-star standout player that I had, and I coached her all 4 years. I'm really close with her dad. He's a good friend of mine. And he used to always call it the senior switch, no matter how good a kid has been leading up to it. And I'm like, oh, Whit, you don't know what you're talking about until a kid becomes a senior. And it's not that they necessarily did anything differently in their preparation or their off season, but subconsciously or somewhere in there, they know this is it. And they know this is the last go round with this group. And this group is so tight knit. And, Leah, man, that senior switch, normally, I'm so busy worried about execution and things like that in practice. There was a move last week during practice. I audibly went, oh my. She made a spin move to finish, and I couldn't help myself because I was just so taken aback. And her footwork is improved, which is saying something because she already had really good footwork. She's not getting the silly travels and things that she has in the past. At least now, granted, we haven't really had live action yet, but in drill work, and just she's always been a phenomenal leader. But now to see her as that senior, and it's really truly something impressive to see.
So, Coach, while we're on that class, tell us about the rest of those seniors.
So the other two, so you got Leah, who, huge congratulations to Leah. She just recently signed to go to Belmont to further her playing career and obviously her academic career. And then Miley Wilkeson is another one. This will be Miley's second full season back with us. She, unfortunately for her, missed her sophomore year with a torn ACL, but she's come back with a vengeance. And truly with Miley, I think that's one of the reasons that she's been, I guess you'd call it, under-recruited. There hadn't been a lot of noise around her, but it's looking like she's probably going to go to IU Indy, formerly IUPUI, and continue her playing career there. And then the girl I always describe as the heartbeat of our team, Emma McQueen. She's not a kid that will necessarily each night show up in a lot of the different statistical categories, but she's a kid that you can't keep off the floor. You have to play her. She is that engine that drives us, and she's going to be the kid diving into the front row of the stands. We might list her at 5'8", maybe, but she's 5'6" on her best day, and she gets matched up with the other team center. Cool. I'll do it. I got to guard the point guard. Cool. I'll do it. Anything that has to be done for us to be successul, she's willing to do it.
Coach, I remember.
Congratulations to her too. She's not continuing her basketball career. She's actually going to go to IUPUC and continue her soccer career. So three college athletes out of that senior class.
Wow. That's awesome.
Pretty impressive accomplishment for those three.
That is impressive. Coach, the one thing you talked about a few minutes ago when you talked about them being such a close-knit group, and you've seen me around in the gym with AAU teams and things like that, and I have observed how the girls and your varsity assistant, Katrina Peters, have it's just like an infectious love culture. When you have an assistant coach like that is so dialed into the players, how much does that help you as a head coach?
Well, it's kind of twofold. Being a male in a female sport, it doesn't matter how close I get with the girls, it's not going to be the same.
Right.
It's just not the same. And Katrina is at times she's that motherly figure. At times she's big sister where they can bounce things off of her. And so she kind of provides that buffer. But I mean, Katrina well enough too. She's not all sunshine and rainbows. And when something needs to be serious, it gets serious in a hurry. Yeah. But it's coming from a place of caring, and they know that. And so I think that's what makes it even more effective. So, what she brings to us is immeasurable. There's no way I would be able to repay her for everything that she's meant to the program, for sure.
Coach, now the last time we spoke, when we sat down, you and Leah West were heading down to represent as an Indiana All-Star. What was that experience like for you? And from your vantage point, what was it like for Leah?
First of all, for Leah, it was tremendous. I think one thing, she is a kid who understands the history and the roots of basketball in Indiana. And so it was a tremendous honor for her. And you want to talk about representing herself well and representing the program well. Granted, it was only one game, but she showed she belonged at that level. And she's going to, if she has the season I know she's capable of, she's going to be incredibly difficult for somebody to keep off the Indiana All-Star team. For me personally, I always tell people when they ask me about it, I'm not trying to oversell it or make it dramatic or anything, but it was truly a life-changing experience for me.
Wow.
From a coaching perspective, from a relationship perspective with your players and things, I got so much more appreciation for the talent around the state. But then, I was that guy when I got into coaching. I thought I'm going to hate every other coach I coached against because I just want to grind them into the ground. We're going to win. And now I would say 95% of the people I've ever coached against, I would consider a friend. We still talk when we see each other. And, I'm always looking back to see how they're doing. But I was with Andy McGuire, who just retired before this season at Zionsville, and Lauren Votal from Fishers. And you want to talk about two class acts and just the best of the best. And just their willingness to share and be open books. And what was so neat for me was to see their different approaches. And I have stolen, every great coach steals from somebody else. And I just in our summer and into this season, so much I've taken from them, and we've made changes in the way that we do things. And the girls notice it and they say they enjoy it, not just because it's different, but they like these things that we've taken from them. So it was it was truly life-changing in that perspective, but then it really opened my eyes. It's obvious if you make the Indiana All-Star team, you're incredibly talented. But what really stood out to me was watching girls who are at that level to see how they go about their business. Like even stretching was a serious thing to them because that's what they were doing to get ready for practice. And so it was truly, truly an experience I'll never forget. And I was humbled and honored beyond belief to be given that opportunity.
Yeah. Coach, you have been in a situation before where your team made it to state, ended up being runner-up. And at that time, you guys were really good and you had that target on your back. What did you learn about that time with that team that you can use this time now that you have that target on your back once again?
Well, it's funny you asked that question because just today, so one of the things I stole from Andy McGuire, we start every day at practice. I used to just have them huddle up together and then one of the girls would, give a quick rundown. Hey, here's what we need to focus on today. But now I start them with a word of the day and a quote of some kind. And today was perfection was the name, was our word and what we were focused on. And I said, we're playing a sport that it's impossible to be perfect in. But you should relentlessly chase perfection, knowing that you're never going to achieve it, but relentlessly pursue perfection. Because, in a game, what if you have 5 perfect possessions? It doesn't sound like a lot, but perfection is really, really hard to attain. And this group immediately took right to it. And you could hear them through practice. Hey, we didn't do this, so it wasn't a perfect possession. And so just getting them focused on one possession at a time. I think that's what that group was so good at that was able to make it to state. They weren't worried about what was coming down the pike. And that's what's so impressive about this group this year. They're not worried about, in December, we're going to go play Silver Creek or, hey, sectional is they're worried about Jacksonville on Friday. And they're focused on that and getting better to that. So it's making sure they stay focused on what's in front of you right now. And I describe that pursuit of perfection like, the carrot that's just dangling out in front of you. You're never going to get it, but you should always keep trying to get there. And I think taking their mind off of the big picture and not letting them feel the outside noise and pressure, because, we've been very fortunate. We've had a lot of success over the last decade, and people notice it, and people are really talking, asking, oh, it's going to be such a good season. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. Thankfully, that word that I used at the beginning, they are very mature, but it's making sure that they stay focused on getting better today, win today, and now let's move on to what's next.
Coach, if I ask you this question straight up, I already know what the answer is. But as you look at this season schedule is coming up, and you don't have to give me a name. Your season last year, perfect in conference play, 21-5. Is there a game on this schedule that you as a coach have circled based on last season?
Based on last season, I would say the first one is probably Jennings County. We and if you looked at just personnel, we matched up with them great.
Yeah.
But the night that they rolled into Greensburg, UConn was not going to beat them. They played at a different level. Yeah. And it wasn't from lack of effort or anything on our part. They were just that good on that given night. And, starting with an Indiana All-Star of their own and Julian Woodard, she set the tone and just took it to us. And we get to go down there this year. And I would be lying if I said I wasn't looking to return the favor a little bit in that one, if we're just going based off of last season. And then we did pick up Scottsburg this year as a regular season game.
Oh, okay.
And, that was a game that for 3 quarters we were in control of, I would say. But the third quarter got away from us, and that ended up being the difference in the game. And so I'd love to put 4 quarters together against them and remind them whose place they're coming into.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, okay. All right.
But nobody from there is ever going to listen to this, right? You can make sure of that. Just block it from Scott County.
I'm actually going to put this on their X feed.
So Coach, we opened the show talking about that statement, that phrase that you used with us last season when you were kind of looking over last season and then starting to look forward to this upcoming season. And those are your words. No more excuses. For the listeners that may not be familiar with the program or familiar with that last conversation, when you say those words, no more excuses, what does that mean?
Well, it means you have to have an edge about you, but it's not. I don't want it to come off like that's all that we've ever had or that's what these girls live in.
Right.
But there was always a reason. So like when these seniors were freshmen, well, we started 4 freshmen and a sophomore, and then the other kids that we brought off the bench, they were kids that were playing basketball. They weren't basketball players, and that's no offense to them. Like, sure. I think you guys understand what I mean when I say that.
Yeah. Yes.
And if I'm being honest, they weren't ready to play varsity basketball, but they had to. We didn't have a choice. But that group still found a way. You know, we were 1-7 or 1-8 to start the year, and they found their way to 10 wins. Mm-hmm. They started to figure things out.
Right.
So that could have been an excuse or a reason. Well, then the next year, they're only sophomores, and we're starting 2 freshmen with them. Again, could be an excuse, but that was that year where we would, even against the really good teams, we would either be tied or have a lead deep into the third quarter or the fourth quarter. And in every single game that we lost, every one that season like that, there would be a 3 to 4 minute stretch. I could have burned all 5 timeouts. I could have stood on my head, turned cartwheels, whatever. It wasn't going to change it. And again, I think dribbling, passing, shooting, all those things are skills. Winning is a skill. Yeah. They had not developed the skill of winning yet. So there's excuse number 2. Now, last year, we're still fairly young-ish, but we're experienced, and we bring another freshman into the fold in Claire Larison last year, able to get to 22, 23 wins, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. But then we have that one bad stretch, but we had pretty much gotten rid of that habit from the year before. So now here it is. We've got everybody who's going to play a majority of the varsity minutes. You know, my top 6 are all experienced varsity basketball players. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, Leon will know her. Then Kaylin Adams, Katrina's daughter, is a very talented and skilled freshman, but she's still a freshman. Yeah. But luckily for her, she's stepping into a group where none of that pressure is on her. Right. And so we won't have that excuse. And so there's no more looking around for help. Who's going to bail me out here? It's all on us. It's going to be on the 8 girls who are going to be counted on to do a majority of the work. And the girls really believe that. There are no more excuses. There's nowhere else to hide. You know, you mentioned it, having that bullseye on you. Well, we have the ultimate one on us, thanks to the coaches. And I mean that sincerely. Thank you to the coaches. That's quite an honor. But you know, there's no bigger bullseye that you can have. Now, granted, preseason rankings mean nothing. It's all about where are you at the end of the year, but there's not going to be an excuse, and they're not going to try to give you one. And they're going to be ready to go every night.
Bruins Guts Willer is the right choice for your next construction project. We strive to deliver unparalleled service to our clients by focusing on craftsmanship and quality. Our core values of integrity, professionalism, and fair pricing all but ensures our clients receive the best possible experience. Whether it's commercial construction, remodeling an existing space, or even building a luxurious home, we offer a comprehensive suite of construction management services. So before you break ground, give us a call at 812-934-2105. Bruins Guts Willer, building a better future for Southeastern Indiana for over 100 years.
You know, Leon, one of the things that I like most about working and living in Batesville, it's the community. Batesville has a little something for everyone, and FCN Bank is the exact same way. Whether it's my personal or business needs, FCN offered me an array of banking products and services that would fit my every banking need. Don't take my word for it. You should check it out yourself at www.fcnbank.com. FCN Bank, building stronger communities. Member FDIC.
Coach, when you look at your schedule, and let's say non-conference, what will be a game that you'll look at the game and you'll watch the film afterwards and you'll say, okay, now I know where my team is? What non-conference game would you look at on your schedule and say, that'll be one I gauge where we are?
It could start with Jennings County, but there's such a great unknown there. Other than the Ernstis girl, I'm honestly not familiar with a lot that they've got coming back, and they graduated a ton of their experience. So you might kind of look at that again, next Friday. It'll only be our third game of the year with Franklin. 4A team, but man, did they graduate a ton. That doesn't mean they're not going to bring back talent,
right?
But they graduated 6 or 7 girls who have played varsity since their freshman year.
Yeah.
But I would say the one that I would truly look at that will be the first true test, the meat grinder. We're going to go down on, I think it's December 7th, December 8th, whatever that Saturday is. And we're going to Evansville to play 2 games. And our first game there is going to be against Silver Creek. They just won a state title a couple of years ago. They've been up in 4A. They're still incredibly talented. And so that'll be the first real measuring stick. And, I did it for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to really beef up the schedule and give us challenge, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't somebody that I know could be in our way once we get past sectional.
Yeah.
That's a possible regional semi-state opponent, and I wanted to get eyes on them early if at all possible.
Coach, now I'm curious. You mentioned having Scottsburg on the schedule this year. Now, was that already in the works prior to regional last year, or was that something that you put in place after that?
No, honestly, that was out of necessity for both of us. It just came about maybe a month or so ago.
Oh, wow.
Everybody talks about, well, your schedule. They don't understand how difficult it is to schedule in high school.
Yeah.
It's not like in college where literally every year you're reinventing your schedule. If you change one thing in a high school schedule, that domino that falls could affect 10, 12, 14 different schools.
Yeah.
And we just got lucky that we both needed games. One of ours got dropped because it was a longer drive and we couldn't get it on a weekend. And so we both were like, yeah, we don't want to be driving. It was probably hour 10, hour 15 on a Tuesday night. And that was just too late for kids to be getting back.
Right.
And so we just got lucky that we both needed a game and it worked out.
Now, Coach, you it's something I've been wanting to talk to you about since that sectional championship. And you had said something to me prior to that, to the effect that basically that your team had goals and aspirations far beyond, a win or a loss on a Thursday night. You guys had goals that you'd set for far beyond that. When the Lady Pirates won that sectional championship last year, there was very little hurrah, hooray. They were very businesslike. They were, don't get me wrong, they were, gracious to their opponent, but they walked off the floor like, yeah, this is not what, where we're going to stop here. And more importantly, it was almost, they walked off the floor like they expected to hoist up that trophy that night. Not what you see in a lot of places where the kids are all over the floor and the student section storms the floor. It wasn't that. It was, we got other things to do. I'm going to assume that comes from you, but talk to me about that mentality a little bit.
Well, I think you hit it on the head there. It wasn't in a cocky way, because like you said, they weren't thumping their chest or anything, but they expected to win that sectional.
Yeah.
And not because they necessarily thought, oh, we're so much better than these teams or anything like that, but this team puts a goal out in front of them and they expect to reach it. And their goal, one of their goals was to win sectional, because regardless of what records had been, their record kept improving up to last year. They still hadn't done it yet.
Right.
And so, it was one of those things that they set that as a goal. And when they finished it, and part of it does come from me, I don't know if how in depth you want me to get with this story, but I still remember it would have been the year before our first state title on the boys' side.
Okay.
We were undefeated going into regional, and we drove down to Washington. You know, the IHSAA was so nice to let us drive to Washington. Awesome gym, but man, what a drive.
Wow.
That's the Hatchet House, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's pretty awesome. Great memories there because we won back-to-back regionals there. But anyway, so we get to the hotel and we notice there's all these Greensburg fans staying there, and it's like a party atmosphere. And the boys were talking about, oh, who brought the PlayStation and this and that. And you got that because we thought we were pretty good.
Yeah.
We're undefeated, make it all the way through the season undefeated. Well, we go out that Saturday morning and we get beat in the first game, a regional. And after that, going into that next year and the next 2 years, Stacy made it very clear, look, we're going to win and we will have fun when we win or after we win. Mm-hmm. These are business trips. Yeah. This isn't all about, hey, let me hang out, let me do this, let me do that. We're going down there to take care of business. And it would be interesting. You should go back, and I don't know if they got the pregame introductions on any of the film, but if you could watch it, the girls changed their handshakes to represent business trips. They like pulled up a tie like they were doing a tie and grabbing a briefcase and walking out like they were going to business. They were going to work.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, it caught me off guard. I didn't know they were going to do it. And I had to shake my head because that's just how this group is. But they really bought into that. And so obviously they were excited about it. It wasn't anything like that. But they looked at it as a business trip because, yes, they had that goal of winning sectional, but they had goals that were much beyond that too. And unfortunately, they didn't reach them. And so now again, that plays back into that mantra. There's no more excuses.
Yeah. So Coach, when you look at your roster and look at the past 2.5 weeks, or even back in the summer in June when you had high school basketball, when you can have them in your gym and you can control it, when you look at what's coming now and you're getting ready to start playing games, what player is going to surprise people?
I would say 2 are going to. One, just because, so Claire Larison came in last year and she wasn't your typical freshman.
Mm-hmm.
She had a tremendous year for a freshman, but to see how much better she is, it is pretty eye-opening. And the funny thing is, I always joke with our coaches, like, it looks like she's not even going hard, and she is, but she's an effortless athlete. She glides.
Well, my daughter played AAU with her, and she never gets sped up.
No,
never.
No, I think people are going to be really impressed with her improvement and how she's going to kind of jump off the page. But then the kid that I have been so excited about has been Mary Harmon, because Mary's freshman year, Mary was incredibly aggressive. She actually led us in 3-point shooting by the end of the year. And then last year, it's like, I don't know if she forgot how. I don't know if she was afraid to. I don't know if she lost the desire, but she never looked to score. She wasn't aggressive. She wouldn't shoot open shots. And it definitely wasn't from us asking her not to. Like, we kept saying, Mary, you got to be aggressive. But she has found that again. And she's really playing at a different pace. So I think those 2 will probably be, and then you're going to get what you expect out of the rest of them, which is good. I'm not saying that as a negative. Right. That's a good thing. But I think those 2 will probably jump off the page more than anybody.
Coach, I want to close it out with this question. It's plain and simple, straightforward. What will a state title mean to this program, to this team, and that group of seniors?
No, Terrence, you can't act like, literally, as you're saying that, you probably can't see them. I have goosebumps now. And honestly, part of that goes back to, I know what that feels like.
Yeah.
And you can't replace that feeling. Mm-hmm. Like, I attribute it to being a sports guy. I go all the way back to when IU beat Kentucky on the Watt shot.
There we go.
Say that one more time.
But my point in that story is, I had people offer me a lot of money for those tickets, and I didn't take it. I've been a season ticket holder now for 20 some years, and my dad and I went down, and that's a memory I will never, nobody can ever take that away from me. Right. And I was there to experience it. And that was my school. Not just a fan, I graduated from IU, and to be there when they quote unquote were back was just, it was an unbelievable thing. But then you can take that and put it on steroids when you talk about winning a state championship. First of all, in basketball, I mean, you guys know I'm born and raised in Indiana. I'm Greensburg through and through. And as a little kid, I remember what it felt like when the Pirates won a sectional. That's back single class time. But just that, I walked around as a little kid with my chest pumped out because the Pirates won a sectional title. Again, take that and multiply it by 1,000 when you add state champion to that. And to know that you've always got that, they can never take it away from you.
Right.
You are the best in that given year. And it's elation, it's relief, it's validating. Like, I could give you all these words. And when I say relief, it's just because you're relieved that all the work paid off for those kids. Right. Because you don't get there by accident. You get there because of hundreds of hours of work put in by those kids. And you just get so excited for them and, what it means for the program as a whole. I mean, we've already done so many things over the last 10 years that had never been accomplished at Greensburg. There were 2 ever sectional titles, and we've been fortunate enough to win 5 in 10 years. There were 2 ever conference championships. We've won 5, and just keep going down the list of the things that these girls have done who have been involved in it because they were willing to believe in this guy. And for the life of me, I don't know why, but that they've been willing to listen. They've bought in, and it's just trickled down through the program. We talked earlier about Leah's leadership. These freshmen look at her. I mean, that you would think there was some ethereal glow around her at all time or something, the way that they look at her. And, that's just going to trickle down. It's going to continue. And so I think what it does is, again, it gives you that sense of pride, and it's so exciting, but it sets the table for the next generation. And I don't think it becomes an expectation, but it's a goal. They know that it's not impossible. It's something that they can achieve, but it's not going to be given to you just because, well, I play at Greensburg, we should be good. No, we're good because of how hard the kids work and the time that they put in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, it was really impressive, Coach. I felt like every time we were in there for an AAU practice, almost the whole team was in there putting up shots and playing pickup. And I mean, Coach, what you got is something special. And I don't know how you got to that point, whether it was Katrina, whoever it was. You got something that's pretty cool. And I hope you guys can reach your goals this year.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I've got to be honest. I wish that Katrina and I could take the credit for it. You can't look past these 3 seniors. We feel it right now in it, but we will never truly know the impact that those 3 had until they're gone in a year. Yeah. And what I truly feel, and I just spoke to our Rotary Club on Monday, and I laid it out for them. I'm like, this group has permanently changed me as a coach just because of their personalities and the way that they are. I was an incredibly transactional coach. You show up and you play hard for me and you win. That's what you do. And I wanted to have relationships and things like that, but my thought on relationship was, I'm your coach, you're my player, let's go win. And that was it. And these guys, I give them so much credit. They have softened me to the core, and not in a bad way. I obviously still have my moments, but I will never be able to pay back for them what they have done for my players in the future.
There you go.
Because I've got such a different outlook on things, and it goes back to those 3. I told the Rotary Club, I'm almost embarrassed, because here I am, the 48-year-old. I'm supposed to be the one teaching the lessons and things like that. And I've been schooled by 3 17 and 18-year-old girls in a good way, but I'll never be able to repay them for that.
Yeah. Well, Coach, listen, we know you've got plenty of things to put your attention on with this being game week. So we know it was a huge sacrifice of your time to be with us, and we are very grateful that you would come back with us to be a two-time guest. I'm telling you, that's a small club. So I'm honored. You should be honored to be one of those two-timers.
Now, wait a minute. Are there any three-timers yet? Because if not, I want to be the first.
We'll put that in the notes.
Put me on the list. I want to be the
Coach,
first.
don't you worry. If at the end you're playing for a state championship, oh, yeah.
All right. It's a deal.
All right, Coach, you'll remember, just like last time, we'll end this show with what we call our one-hitter quitter. I'm going to ask you one question, hard-hitting in nature. And yes, sir, you do have to answer. You ready?
Okay.
All right. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., your phone rings, and it's the Indiana Fever, and they're extending you the opportunity to be their head coach. You accept. And we've all seen the generational talent that Caitlin Clark was last year. How do you build a team around Caitlin Clark?
You are going to get me in big trouble because I know I'm not allowed to say this as a male, and so you might want to edit this part out. But the very first thing I do is I get Aaliyah Boston on a training regimen and with a dietitian and get her on weights because she showed up this year slow and out of shape and not ready to play.
Yeah.
She just did.
Yeah.
And that I don't know if that's debatable. And so that's the first thing that I do.
Okay.
And I get an enforcer type, you know, like the old Dennis Rodman, Bill Laimbeer type player.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I load up on shooters. I load up on people who are just going to be able to knock it down from the perimeter because all that does is that opens that lane wide open for her to create. You got somebody there to be the muscle when people get physical with her because, you know, that's how people are going to try to stop her throughout her entire career until she develops that body. And so that would be my plan. But honestly, I think it starts with getting Aaliyah Boston in shape and serious about basketball.
Well, I think after the season that they had, I think Boston can be better because now she knows that they're not relying solely on her to do all of these different things. She's got someone else that's going to really take on the mantle of getting points and getting where they need to be. And I think Boston can settle into her game.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll make it even easier. I'll give an even easier answer. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to surround Caitlin Clark with 4 other people who can actually catch a pass. How about we do that? We don't even have to worry about shooting. Like, can you catch a pass that hits you in the hands? Because how many turnovers did Caitlin Clark have because her teammates can't catch? I'm sorry. Sorry, shouldn't have said it. Caitlin, I apologize because I know she'll be tuning in.
Well, Lynn Dunn probably just scratched you off the list.
But hey, I'm not wrong, am I?
I'm not in that one. I'm not going that route.
Apparently, Leon has an interview or something for the job. That's what I'm hearing. He's afraid to answer.
Coach, always a good time. Really glad we got a chance to catch up with you. Cannot wait to see the product that you guys put out on the court this year. And yeah, like Leon said, hopefully this is the one where you guys get everything that you want and deserve out of this season. We'll be along for the ride, no doubt.
All right. I appreciate it, fellas. Thanks again.
Thanks, Coach.
And that's going to do it for this one. We'd like to thank all of our sponsors for making this show possible. They include Bronze Gutzwiller, the right choice for your next construction project, and FCN Bank, building stronger communities, member FDIC. Also, we'd like to thank our friends of the program. They include Margaret Mary Health, S&B Driving School, and Country 103.9 WRBI. And as always, subscribe, like, rate, and review. And remember, be a friend and tell a friend about Overtime with Terrence and Leon.